Alright, we're back. This video I'm going to talk about your first setup of carp gear. So there's a lot of traps out there, there's loads of stuff on eBay and YouTube videos about, you know, buy this, buy that. Now you can get caught out, and what I'm going to talk about is things that I've been caught out before as I first started out, or I didn't really have much money behind me at the time and I couldn't afford, you know, like good stuff, like really good stuff. So I bought a load of kit, tried it all out, and eventually I ended up with most of this list that I'm going to go through today. So, and that lasted me a good 10-15 years. So we're going to talk about a 2-rod setup, everything you're going to need to get you out on the bank fishing, and you should be able to get it all new for less than 550 quid. So a full setup, night fishing, everything you're going to need for less than 550 quid. So that's pretty good going. You could save more money, I'm sure, if you looked secondhand and all that kind of stuff for the same things. So I would say, as I said, maximum 550 quid will get you fishing, and it will last you long enough to decide whether you like it or not, or you've got enough time to do it or not. So yeah, we'll start going through it and see how it goes. It's roasting hot today, so I can't do much other work, so I'm going to get this video done. And yeah, we'll start running through it. Okay, so first thing you're going to need is obviously a set of rods. So I used the Witchwood Riots for about 15 years before I changed mine over. I had the 2.5 pound test curve ones, and they did great for me. I landed big carp on it. I even went cat fishing for them and had 50-pound cats on them. Really nice to use. But in terms of getting an all-round rod that you can use, you know, in France or big waters, or as you start casting further and further out, they do a 3.25 test curve Witchwood Riot, and they are 38 quid each. So 76 quid gets you 2 rods, and they're decent rods too. They will last you a long time. So that's your 2 rods. Obviously with the rods you're going to need reels. So again, I used the Witchwood Riot reels for a very long time, the big pit reels. One thing that you need to look at when you're buying your reels is the line capacity. So the majority of places in the UK, I would say minimum 15-pound line. The price for line, which we'll go through in a minute, is the same for 15-pound and 18-pound. So depending on what you're doing, if you're fishing weedy lakes or you're planning on coming over to France, just go for the 18-pound. It's no different in price, and if you've got a big pit reel like the Witchwood Riots, you can get plenty of it on there. So yeah, pay attention to the line capacity, and also don't buy a reel that has a plastic clip on it. If you can try and find one that has a metal clip, the little round button ones, or if you've got reels at the moment they've got plastic clips on and you're first starting out, see if you can buy the little metal button ones on their own and just replace them with the plastic ones. Reason why I say that is, especially if you're first starting out, or even if you've been fishing for a while and you're not great at casting, when you start fishing to a clip to get your distance right, if you hit that clip too hard on a plastic one, it will just snap off completely and you'll end up with a reel that doesn't have a clip on it. So you might as well buy the right thing to start out with and go from there. So yeah, plastic clips are a no-no. Alright, so next thing you're going to need is something to put your rods on. Hey Dutch. Hey yeah. Yeah, so you need something to put your rods on. Now, I've always used bank sticks. I have tried plenty of pods, but bank sticks and fish jumping out behind me. Bank sticks are a lot more versatile and they're a bit easier to use, especially if you're on a budget. Don't go and buy a cheap pod, because they're awful. They're not steady, they're not solid or anything like that. The cheap ones are like, as I said, terrible. So go with bank sticks. As I said, they're a lot more versatile. You can point your rod directly at your spot, so you get better bite indication. If you've got 3 rods or 2 rods, whatever, on a pod, and you're fishing to the left or to the right, your rod tip's going to come round before your bite alarm actually tells you anything. So you get better bite indication if you've got your rods pointing right at your spot, and it's better to do that with bank sticks. So the bank sticks that I found on Angling Direct, just the aluminum ones, I put a picture up, they were, let me find my thing, 12 quid for 4. So that's all you need for your 2-rod setup, 4 bank sticks, 12 quid. So for your bank sticks, you're going to need butt grips for your rods. Those Witchwood ones, as I said, I've used them before. You use just the small U-shaped ones. There's different types that you can get. The ones that I'll put up a picture now and a link in the description for them are the better ones that I've found. I still use the same ones now, and I've been fishing for a long time, so yeah, I still use the same ones now, the best ones I've found. So yeah, that's those ones. I think they're 5 quid for 2 of them, so yeah, not too much. All right, so bobbins, probably one of the things that we've all been caught out with, or you will get caught out with, is buying cheap bobbins. So you'll see plenty of them that have got a ball bearing chain on them. Don't buy those ones because they break very easily. Imagine how many times you've picked up the plug out the bath that's got one of them on and it breaks or anything like that. So if you can get hold of the chain version ones, or if you want to fork out for more expensive ones, obviously that's better. But if you're on a budget and you can get the chain ones, as soon as you get them, take the bottom piece off the bobbin itself and the other piece off the bracket, the other side, unscrew it, put some super glue or some epoxy in it, and that'll hold it a lot stronger. With those ones, where the little pinchers are, the little peg that goes onto the line, you can adjust it so it's either mega tight or mega loose or whatever. Just have it so that it's tight enough to hold the line and not fall off. If you have it really tight, which is what I've done for so long, and I don't know why I kept doing it, but if you have it too tight, when you pick the rod up, it just breaks the bobbin, because at the end of the day they're not that expensive, and even more expensive bobbins, to be fair. I used the Fox Swingers for quite a while. If you have it too tight, it's the same thing, they just break. So that's something to bear in mind with your bobbins, especially if you're going with cheaper ones. So ones I saw are Nash ones. You get 4 of them for 13 quid, so you'll have spares. Alright, so you're going to need bite alarms. There's plenty on eBay that would be 3 or 4 bite alarms with a receiver and they're next to nothing. They do not give you a good bite indication and they don't last, especially as the weather's been here in France and back in the UK, especially this year. It's been awful, absolutely chucking it down. So yeah, if you're going to spend your money, the places to spend your money are your reels and your bite alarms. Don't skimp out on it. The Nash Siren, the S5s, they are 17 quid each, so still fairly cheap. So 34 quid for 2 of them, and they're good bite alarms. So that's your bite alarms, your rod and your reels and your bank sticks. So that's you set up. Let's have a look at line, nets and slings and all that kind of stuff. Right, so time to talk about line. There is hundreds of different lines out there, manufacturers of line, and all that kind of stuff. Again, it's an area where you want to make sure you're getting stuff that's well known by a good company, just to guarantee that it's not going to break. When you're tying all your knots, as many people will know already, maybe you don't, I'm not sure, cheap line on a knot that's not been tied properly or hasn't been wet as you've tightened it down will break far sooner than a good quality line. So tying your knots properly, and as I said, wet them. Every single knot you do, wet it before you pull it down tight. So one of the lines that is good to go for to start out with is the Fox Carp Mono. Comes in 15 and 18 pound. They're both the same price. They're both 9 quid, and that should do, I would say, at least 3 rods. So gives you plenty to spare. You can even use some of the mono to tie hook links, something like a stiff D rig or combi rig, something like that. So you'll have plenty left over as well to do some rigs with. But yeah, Fox Mono, 9 quid, you can't go wrong. By a good company. So yeah, 15 and 18 pound, same price. So choice is yours. All right, so getting to the stage now where hopefully we've caught something. You're going to need a net, a sling, some scales. So when you're buying a net, get a 42-inch net straight away. A lot of places that you go, that's going to be the minimum size that you need anyway. And as you start catching obviously bigger and bigger fish, you don't have to buy a new one if you've bought a small one to start with. So if you're fishing somewhere that has cats in it, just get a bigger one. You'll know. Those of you that have caught cats already, they tend to swim backwards when you try and put them in the net, so they're a bit of a hassle to get in the net. So yeah, 42-inch. Found one online for 30 quid, so not too bad. Sling, same thing, get a big one. There's one by Advanta which is 105 centimeters long, and that's 22.49, so 22.5 quid, and that will last you, you know, right from double figure carp, you know, 10s, 12s, 15s, right the way up to 40s and 50s. So yeah, that should last you a while if you look after them. And then scales. Personally, I've always preferred digital scales, just because it gives you obviously a more accurate weight, and once it's realised, once it's settled on the weight, it'll freeze and it'll give you the exact weight. So our fish, they do not behave whatsoever on the bank. When you look into them, they run straight at you, and they do all their fighting under the rod tip, and then you get them in the cradle and they beat you up big time. So digital scales for me have always been a lot easier. If you can imagine, you've got a fish in a sling, you're trying to weigh it with, you know, normal analog scales, it's bouncing around, the scales are going up and down, up and down. It's hard to get an accurate weight. Rather with the digital ones, it's a lot easier. So yeah, again, the Advanta ones, they're 13 quid. You can't go wrong. I had them for a long time. They were out in the rain, they were drops, everything. I should have looked after them more. I should look after all my gear a bit better, to be honest. But yeah, 13 quid for a set of digital scales. They'll do you. I think they go up to £60, £65, something like that. So if you're fishing for carp that big, chances are you'll have bigger scales by that time anyway, but they will look after you. So yeah, that's the scales. All right, starting to get into the fish care side of things now. Personally, I've always used a cradle rather than just a normal mat. I think they're a lot safer for the fish. Again, as I've said already, ours don't behave whatsoever. We've got big cradles here just to protect them, but the one that I've written down that I'll put a picture of is good. It's quite portable, so if you're moving around a lot, it's easy to pack it up and take it with you. It's a lot safer for the fish. If you've got a flat mat and the fish is flapping about and it's all slimy, and it'll get scratched up and it'll be a lot harder for you to handle, whereas if it's in a cradle, it's easier for you and it's safer for the fish. So yeah, the cradle I found, again, Advanta, it's a big one and it's 45 quid, so that's a pretty good price, to be fair. You've got to look after the fish. I know it doesn't seem like a big deal maybe to some people, but you have to look after them. Okay, most importantly, carp care. So there's loads of kits out there. Some have got some for the mouth, some have got some for the body. All of them are pretty good. The best thing that you can buy is propolis. The the way you use it is you dry the area, whatever's damaged. It could be the mouth, the side of the fish, the scale, whatever. Excuse me. You dry it, and then you put the propolis on. Just dab it slightly, and then splash a bit of water on it, and it forms a nice waxy seal over the wound or the hook hold or something like that. If you've got the antiseptic sprays, it's fine when you spray it on, but as soon as you lift the fish up to put it back in the water, or it goes back in the water, that stuff comes straight off. So as a fishery owner, I try to recommend propolis to everybody. I do have some here if you don't have any, but yeah, that's my preferred stuff to use. Obviously you can't put it in the eyes or the gills or anything like that, but it is very good stuff. Just to touch on it, just to go off on a bit of a tangent, especially in springtime and especially after spawning, if you don't treat a hook hold, or if the fish has got a scratch on the side of it, or it's got a lice on it or something like that, if we talk about springtime first, all the bacteria in the lake wake up a long time before the fish wake up. So their immune systems are quite low when all the bacteria in the lake is waking up, and it's quite high. So if a fish has, for example, has a lice on it, an argulus on it, they will try and rub it off. And if they get it off, or you catch the fish and you take the lice off, there'll be a sore underneath, just like us getting a bite. Now, if that's not treated, it will get an infection, for starters. And what happens when a fish gets an infection of any kind, just like us, if we get cold or we get an infection, we get snotty, don't we? We get a cough and whatever else. Well, the fish, once they start getting an infection, they produce more and more mucus over their entire body to try and fight the infection. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but if it gets too much, they can become very, very sick. There's a disease called, an infection called saprolegnia, which is quite common in spring, where they have so much excess mucus that it causes another infection, a fungal infection. That's what saprolegnia is. So it might not seem like much when you catch a fish and you've got to treat a hook hold or a small scratch or a tiny little sore. But if you don't, the knock-on effects can be quite serious. Saprolegnia, usually the fish get over it, and it's not a problem once the water temperature warms up. But especially in springtime, and especially after spawning, we've all seen plenty of damage on some fish after spawning. It is absolutely brutal, especially on the female fish in spawning times. So yeah, just as I said, gone off on a bit of a tangent now, but please, when you're fishing for carp, however big they are, treat the wounds, because the knock-on effects of not treating a wound, as I said, even the smallest of scratches or whatever, can be quite serious. Not always, but just to prevent it, carp care is probably the most important thing that you need to have down, and yeah, sorted out to a T. Okay, back to the gear. So bivvies, you can get brollies, you can get one-man bivvies, two-mans. You can spend 90 quid, you can spend 100 quid, you can spend 500, even a grand on a bivvy, right? But to get you out fishing and to have a bivvy that will last you a fair long time, they do make, I think nowadays, two-man bivvies are kind of the same as like 1.5-man bivvies used to be. Might just be the ones that I've bought or seen, I'm not sure, but what I'm trying to say is if you get one, give yourself the extra space to be comfortable where you are. So personally for me, I don't like brollies because there's not much space in them, and if you want to go and do a long weekend, or if you're going on a holiday for a week, I wouldn't want to do a week in a brolly. But for the same sort of price, this Advanta Protector one is a 2-man, and that's 150 quid. It might sound like a lot, but for a bivvy it's not really that much. And as I said, that's a 2-man bivvy. So if you go fishing and it starts chucking it down with rain, which seems that's all it's done for the last 2 years anyway, gives you extra space to go in the bivvy and sit down, and you know, you're not sat on your bed for the whole weekend or the whole day. You can have a chair in there, you can have a little table in there, tie rigs or whatever it is you do. So yeah, if you go with a bigger one, you're not going to have to buy another one soon. Maybe you've got someone come with you, or you're going on a long holiday. So yeah, that Advanta one, Advanta Protector, 150 quid, and that'll do you for quite a while. So obviously you're going to want a bed. I have seen the metal fold out camping ones. It doesn't have to be a bed chair, just something to sleep on. I'm sure you can get second-hand bed chair for the same sort of price that might be better. I was just looking at the brand new camping ones, the metal pull out ones. They're about 30 quid, so comfortable enough. Military have used that sort of thing for decades now, and it's been good enough for them. Personally, I know, 18 years in the military, they are actually quite comfortable. Maybe not too warm in the winter, but if you get a blanket, put that underneath it and then have your sleeping bag on top, I'm sure you'd be nice and warm. So yeah, could get one second hand. I'm sure you could find one second hand for same sort of money, 30-40 quid maybe, something like that. What's next? Terminal tackle. Okay, Snide Tackle work with us, we work with them. We have a sponsorship, they give us discount codes. I'll put that in the description as well, and the link to their website. It is very good stuff. We've tested it out here for a good 5 months, maybe 4 or 5 months, and it hasn't let us down, not once. I fished, I believe it was 4 days, 3 nights or something like that. Tied up a combi rig with their gear, used the claw hook, the size 4 claw hook, and I didn't have to change it for that whole time. I was catching fish, I was winding in, I was, you know, Rox was fishing as well. She got snagged on a branch. Went and got the hook out, went and got the rig out, and there was nothing wrong with it. So we just chucked it back out and we were still catching fish on it. So very sharp and very strong. Usually they very sharp hooks, you would think, okay, right, gonna have to change it maybe after a couple of days, but in all honesty, we didn't have to. So they've got a range of stuff on there. They've got Ronnie rig bundles, they've got pretty much everything you need to get out fishing. So what I would recommend, just to start you off, you can either use the leftover main line that you've got to tie up some D-rigs or some boom sections, and then get the supple braid or get the coated braid and strip the coating off if you're going to tie something like a combi rig. Now there is some other videos on our site for tying these sort of rigs up. They're very simple, but if you get a coated braid from Snide, it covers you for everything. Then you can use a coated braid rig, or you can strip it all off and tie just a little supple section like that. So that covers everything. They do fluorocarbon hook link on there, which isn't expensive at all. I think it's 5 quid, something like that, for 20 meters of it. You can imagine how many rigs you can tie with 20 meters of hook link. Yeah, for 5 quid. They've got a range of stuff, everything that you need on there they have, and as I said, it is a good price, and we do get a discount, so definitely worth checking them out. Just have a look at easy to tie rigs. There is a video on our channel for easy to tie rigs. Don't start with anything complicated, you don't need to. I think the rig that's probably caught the most carp of all time is just a simple hair rig. And you'd be surprised how many big fish come out on that. Here at our lake, at the moment it's combi rigs and mono D rigs that are doing the bites, but all through summer, all through spring. It's very hot today, my brain ain't working. All through spring, me and Rox were catching on braided hair rigs, nothing else. We tried other things and it wasn't working, so we went back to basics, simple braided hair rig, and we started catching again, and we fished that all through spring. So yeah, don't get drawn into the complicated rigs, certainly not when you're first starting out. So that's it. 2 rod setup, 2 rods, 2 reels, bite alarms, bivvy, bed, everything you need, terminal tackle, everything you need to get you on the bank. Like I said, that's new stuff that I've got prices for, that I've been through Angling Direct and other websites, that kind of thing. You could save a lot of money if you could find that stuff second hand. You could still save a lot of money. I don't see why, if you went through that stuff and you got second-hand rods, reels, maybe not bite alarms, but if you can find them, give them a go. You shouldn't really be spending more than 400 quid on things that are second-hand for all of that setup. If you want brand new stuff, as I said, less than 550 quid, you cannot go wrong to get you out on the bank fishing. You're going to enjoy your fishing a lot more. As I said, all the stuff that I've been through is things that I've used in the past. I've learnt the hard way. I've bought cheap stuff. I've seen things on eBay that's been really cheap, and I thought, oh, that'll do that. I'll get loads of that for that, and it doesn't last. So hopefully I've passed some of this information and passed on some of my bad experiences, and it will help you get on the bank and help you not spend too much money, and enjoy your time out there. Yeah, so enjoy your time out there. It's I think it's becoming one of those sports where it's certainly nowadays after COVID, it is very good for your mental health. Again, I'm going off on a tangent. It is something that's very close to my heart. As I said before, those of you that have met me, I spent all my life pretty much in the military in one form or another, and mental health is definitely something that's close to my heart, and fishing has become a very good way of people working through it. So yeah, if you can get out on the bank without spending too much money, it can be very good for you. I thought I might just say at the end of this video, if there is anybody that is struggling with mental health, I've been through it myself, and my friends that I had in the Air Force, I know a fair few people that have been through it as well. If you are struggling, or you need somebody to talk to, somebody you don't know, like a third person, or somebody away from your situation, wherever you are, don't hesitate to message me. Shoot me a message on Facebook, or go on our website and get our phone number, something like that. I'm more than happy to just talk or just listen. I'm a good listener. Sometimes all it takes is to talk to somebody or vent out what it is that's in your mind. It's very hard for some people to, once they have something in their mind, it's very hard to get rid of it. But yeah, not really about the video that I've just done, but I just thought I might say, you know, if there is anyone out there that's struggling, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'm always available and I will always listen. Okay, so that's the end of that video. Hopefully, as I said, gets you out on the bank fishing. Always see you next time.